Ms. Mohamed Toure. I work with UNHCR in Kakuma as the education officer. I coordinate UNHCR education programs. So UNHCR is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. It is a UN agency that is mandated to provide international protection to refugees. UNHCR coordinates protection and humanitarian assistance to refugees in Kakuma. So we provide in coordination and in collaboration with the government services such as education, health, water, community protection.
Presence, we do both humanitarian and development work, basically focusing on people who have been affected by crisis. And in Kakuma, the history of LWF goes back to the days of the Lost Boys. That is way back in 1992 when the camp started. The LWF came on board to offer assistance, both humanitarian services to the Lost Boys. And that explains the beginning of this camp way back in 1992. And since 1992, LWF has maintained a presence in Kakuma. But beyond Kakuma, just to go back to the question you asked, in Kenya, we operate under the Kenya-Djibouti-Somali Country Program, where we have a presence in Kenya, Djibouti, and Somali Kismayo. In Kenya, we work in Kakuma and the Dab refugee camps. Basically, in Kakuma, LWF is working in 6 areas. One of the areas, as you rightly put it, or sectors, the way we like calling it here, is education. Then we have child protection. We have youth protection and development. We have peace and safety. We have community development and livelihood. And then we have what we call monitoring and evaluation and accountability. So now specifically going back to education, in Kakuma, LWF is UNHCR lead implementing partner in education. What do we mean by lead implementing partner? We take most of the responsibility for running and managing education programs in the camp. And we have a focus on primary education. Primary education, we have 21 primary schools with about 44,060 learners, about 18,060 girls and the rest boys. That's under primary schools. We also have pre-primary schools, and pre-primary schools, we have a total of 13 pre-primary schools with about 11,081 learners, of which about 5,461 are girls. Then we also have another component of special needs education. And special needs education, there are 2 components of it. One component is where we are calling inclusive education. Where inclusive education, we take children with disabilities and integrate them in the normal school setup, the classroom where they learn alongside the other children. But these are children who have mild disabilities that they could be integrated in the mainstream classrooms. But there are those who have severe cases that they cannot, like those with mental impairment. They cannot be integrated in the normal classroom because they need specialized equipment, they need specialized teachers, service, and that kind of stuff. Those ones we put them in stand-alone schools because instruction that they are given is a bit different from the kind of instruction that we give the other learners. The individualized education plan does not allow them to learn at the same pace and the same time with the other normal learners in the normal class setup. So we have about 1,387 children with disabilities who are integrated in the education system that we are supporting. Also, to ensure that we promote aspects of special needs education, we have what we call EAC, Education Assessment Resource Center, that was constructed specifically in the host community outside the camp. And this is because the services that we do don't just only confine ourselves to the refugees, but when we do services, we also ensure that the host community are also taken care of. Because, for instance, if you look at special needs education, the development of special needs education, even in the host community around here, in the Turkana host community, it's not well established. It's not well funded. We understand the funding constraints. So we put up this center in the host community so that it could help in terms of identification, assessment, and placement of children with a disability, both in the host community and in the refugee camp in schools. Initially, when we isolate the learners, and especially those with mild disabilities, when we isolate them and put them in separate classrooms or schools, we continue stigmatization, okay? Because they feel isolated. They already feel that they are disadvantaged. That is why they are not mixed with the other children. The other children also feel that this is a special interest group. Why are they different from us? Why are they in a different setup? So it doesn't help Maya. It continues to propagate that discrimination and stigmatization, and it doesn't help. But in cases where we have put them together, you find that socialization and integration between these children with disabilities and the other children has helped, in the sense that they even play together, they support each other even in classwork. Like there is a case of one girl who has visual impairment. She's using a braille in one of the schools called Mogadishu, and she sits in a normal classroom with the other learners, and they integrate very well. They share even the sitting space. And when time comes for them to go outside, you will find that even these other children, they are eager to support them outside the classroom, as opposed to where you put them alone in a separate classroom and it becomes difficult. There's no one who can help them. But when they are together, these other children get to support them. Also, it helps the other children to understand that disability is not inability. That despite the fact that they are faced with certain impairment, they just have capabilities like them to learn. And we have seen cases where children with a disability in schools have done very well and proceeded to secondary education, which is very good. Then also we have another component of education we are calling accelerated learning program. Accelerated learning program targets the overage children who are in school. When you go to the schools in the camp, you will realize that we have about 46% of the children in the school who are overage, children who are not supposed to be in school. But because of the background they are coming from, these are children who are coming from a crisis. They are children probably whose education was disrupted at some time. And when it was disrupted, the time that they took from their home country to here, probably it was 6 or so months on the way, they lost some time. When they came to the camp, also taking time to integrate in the system, in the society here, took them a bit of time. So they lost some time in terms of education. So when they come here, you find that this child wants to go back to school. But this child, instead of starting school at 6 years of age in grade 1, they start at 12 years. Now, this child, if we allow them, we were to leave them to stay in school for the normal primary school cycle, the 844 that is just being phased out and replaced by the CBC, you will realize that this child, by the time they complete school, they will be probably 18, 19, or even 20. Now, there are challenges associated with that. Challenges of stigmatization. When the small children start looking at them and laughing at them, they will not stay in school. The girls, by the time they get to 13, 14 years, there are so many distractions. The boys are there, and you know all this kind of stuff. Culture sets in, and you find that retention levels in schools becomes so difficult. So what do? We create a program that can allow them to study within a very short time. ALP is supposed to keep these children in school for 3 years, because what happens is that we have the normal school program that has been condensed into 3 levels. Level 1, which will take from grade 1 to grade 4, and then level 2, which will take class 5 and 6, and then level 3, which will take 7 and 8. So that in 3 years, this child will have covered the content that is supposed to be covered in 8 years. They will be able to stay in school within the 3 years, be able to complete the primary cycle and transit. They can transit to formal education system, proceed to secondary, or go to vocational skills training. You go to the schools, we have programs for training teachers. And we have trained teachers over the years. And most of the teachers we have trained end up back in South Sudan, in Somalia, to do what they're doing. They go and start teaching in the schools there. And by so doing, they are contributing to the reconstruction of the society. Because when we want to rebuild the society, we need the teachers to be in the schools. So we are both building their capacities to teach their children here. And when they go back home, to ensure that the children that they left home and the children that they're going back with at home, they're in school. We move to the next level where we are talking about youth protection and development. Under youth protection and development, there are a number of projects or activities that we undertake. But for the purposes of this session, I will only focus on two. I wish to focus on sports development and also on talent search and development. Under sports development, initially when it started, it was a matter of ensuring that the youth are engaged in something meaningful so that they don't fall into the temptation of engaging in unhealthy behavior, if you use that term. But over time, this has grown to go just beyond play for leisure, okay? Play for entertainment. It's now play for development. And as you rightly put it, we have we have what we call the tournament, okay? And the tournaments are played at the zonal level. The camp is such that it's categorized into blocks and zones. So the tournaments will start at the zonal level. Then from the tournaments, now this fits us into what we call the Kakuma League, Kakuma Premier League, which is entirely a league that is played for the refugees in Kakuma, the host community, and Kalobei settlement. Now from that we get what we call Kakuma United. And Kakuma United is a football team, male football team that is participating in the National Super League. Okay, and they're doing very well. And from that, we have had some cases of players who have been identified to go and play in teams in the Kenya Premier League. But the processes of ensuring the registration and whatever is still currently underway. Once that is done, then they will be allowed to go and play their trade outside there. We also have a similar arrangement for ladies, what we call the Kakuma, the KK. Yes, the KK, the Kakuma Divas, which is for ladies. They also play. And from this team, in the past, we've been able to see our girls from the camp participate in the, did we call it the Chapadimba or whatever, what was it? Yes, league. And from that, 2 girls were identified and they are on full scholarship in one school in Bungoma County called Maine. I think it's Maine Secondary. Full scholarship. 5 other girls have been identified to participate. The 2 girls in Maine, I think one is Monica, the other one I need to check the name. They are on full scholarship. So because of the talent, having been identified in Kakuma and nurtured, now they are on scholarship. Under sports, it's not just football alone, okay? There is football, there's basketball, there's volleyball, there is athletics, all happening in this camp. And so from basketball in the past, we have seen people who have come from this camp. They have gone on resettlement in Belgium, in Denmark, in Canada, in the US, and some of them are very good players, like Luon Deng, who is playing in the NPA League. These are products of Kakuma. When we talk about athletics, they just concluded a World Athletics Championship in Doha. We had representation from Kakuma. We had a gentleman and a lady who participated in the marathon. And that's just talent from Kakuma. And this is something that we feel so proud about as LWF with the partners who are supporting us, because then it becomes a role, it becomes like a motivating factor for the growing children to look up to these stars and say, I want to be like so and so. And so it really helps in terms of talent identification and talent development, which is a very good thing, for us. In terms of also talent search and promotion, we have what we call Kakuma Coach Talent. This is an annual event that usually takes place between the months of November and December. And what happens is that we give an opportunity for creativity to the youth in the camp to come up with the performances in music, dance, comedy, fashion and design. And from that week-long event, we invite some of the best artists from Kenya to come and present over as the judges. And they will help to rate the performance, and the best performing artists are usually awarded. We also have artists who have been supported to go and record. We have like an artist from the house community, I think it's called Young Generation, something like that. A young boy who is, I think, in secondary school, who has been supported to record their music. We also have a group, I think they call G2S from the camp, who have also been supported to record their music. I think they have done 5 or so songs. Yeah. And now we have a studio for recording. Initially, we used to send them to Nairobi, but now we are working with a local radio station here in Kakuma called Atana Yeche. And now there's a studio there which helps them to record. So from that, it's now easier for them. They can record here, and now they just go out to market. We also have work that we do in community development and livelihood. On this one specifically, what we are doing is we start by focusing on the vulnerable groups, especially in the refugee camp. We have like women who are survivors of gender-based violence. So to ensure that we empower these women or we improve their status so that they don't fall into the trap of negative coping mechanism. For instance, if you are a victim, okay, survivor of sexual gender-based violence, chances are that your livelihood opportunities and whatever else you had is destroyed. And so when you go back, you are exposed, there is nothing. You are exposed to all this range of vulnerabilities. So what do? To make sure that you don't relapse into negative coping mechanisms, we give you something that you can depend on to sustain you and your family. So like we have women who are trained in tailoring, okay? We have women who have been trained in hairdressing, and out of that, they are making a living. Just outside our gate in Kakuma, there is a shop, it's called Jitekeme. It's a tailoring group that they are producing bags, okay? And these bags, they are selling them, especially to visitors who go to Kakuma. And they go all the way to America, to Canada. They receive even orders, okay? They even participate in the exhibition, the trade exhibitions in Lodwar and in Nairobi. Yes, and this helps just to ensure that we empower them. We also have catering groups from women, and we support them whenever they are trainings. They have been trained, so whenever there are trainings in the camp, we don't invite hotels to come and provide food. It's these women in the camp who will then provide the food, and then they will get this money. So that way we are increasing the amount of money that is in circulation at household level among the camps, in the camp, among the refugee population in the camp. Because without that, employment opportunities are scarce. And out of this, we have seen some very positive results. We have seen ladies who are able to pay school fees for their children in national schools outside the camp. We have had single mothers who are able to take care of their families, okay? Ensure that when in the camp the children are well fed, they are well clothed. When they are sick and it requires them to seek medical attention outside the camp, they have taken care of that comfortably. One thing that I would wish to tell everyone there is that no one chooses or decides to be a refugee. It can happen to anyone, anytime. Refugees are human beings like us. They have needs like us. They have fears like us. And the best thing that we can do to a refugee is to welcome them, to receive them, to make them feel that they are home, give them a chance to rebuild their life. That's the one and single most thing that we need first to do. And there are all these misconceptions about refugees, and especially when we talk about issues related insecurity, where we are labeling every refugee a terrorist. I wish to face the camera and say that this is a misconception that I want to pray we need to move away from. Everyone comes here because first of their personal safety and security. These people are here because they are running away from something. They are looking for somewhere where someone can protect them. Someone can give them an opportunity to have a second chance at their lives. And so when they come, we need to receive them and make sure that we serve them. And when we are serving them, it has to be very clear. We are not doing anyone a favor. It is the sole responsibility and obligation of the hosting country or nation to provide services for refugees. But we are here to support and complement the services and the efforts of the government. And when we are doing that, we are duty bound to do it. It's not a favor. We have a responsibility. So anyone out there who is working with the refugees has to understand clearly that we are not doing them a favor. It is a responsibility. We have taken a commitment, and we must do this with respect to their rights, to make sure that the environment that they are living under, they live in dignity. They feel that they are people, they are respected. We don't have to exploit them. We have to respect them. And we have to serve them because it's a duty for us to serve them, not a right for us to serve them. And the opportunities are there. The refugees that we have worked with have demonstrated that they have capacities just like us. We have children in schools who are competing on an equal footing with children in public schools in Kenya. For instance, last year, we had a girl in this camp from Angelina Jolie who scored 418 marks out of a post for 500. What does that tell us? That given an opportunity, they have the potential to do even better than us, some of us. And this is what we need to promote, just from the sports. We have seen the talent.
So we want to integrate the refugees with the local community, with the national system, so that they can improve their livelihood, they can improve their prospect for self-reliance, and it will also be, beneficial for the hosting community, as they will, share services and benefit, from the programs. But it will also, ensure that, the burden of hosting refugees is, shared by the international community.